But in fact, I want to begin with an homage to Tony Calbo, who died so young and so suddenly, and who meant so much to this community. He was not a person who I knew, but he was a person who worked very closely with people who mean a great deal to me. And to do this, I'm going to talk about model of networks. This is work that goes back to Pigou, to Braze, and very recently to the work of two computer scientists that was done at Cornell, Tim Roughgarden and Eva Tardosh. And this has to do with transportation networks, traffic flow networks. It may not be something that you're very familiar with, but it's full of little simple models and ideas. And Esther could use this in the calculus class to undergraduates. They're just very nice and very good things to learn. So I'm going to start by skipping through a bunch of what I have here, because as is usually the case, I over-prepared. And I'm going to go directly to speaking about a situation of transportation networks and equilibrium in these kinds of networks. And I think that I won't bother pointing. It's going to be clear enough, and I'm afraid I would laser you right in the eye, and I think it's not to such a gracious host from the bank, it's not the right thing to do, not the right thing to do to anyone. So if you can just bear with me, I think we can talk through this without any difficulty. So I want you to think of a situation where there's a source which is a village, and that's represented by S in the diagram that you have to your left. Excuse me? Very good. I can see whether this, not bad. So there's, well, doesn't light up. Doesn't matter. So there's S, which is the source, and you should think of this as a village. And then there's a terminus, T, which you can think of as a train station. And there are a unit mass of inhabitants, a large number of small inhabitants of this village. And there are two roads that lead from the village to the train station, which is where everybody has to go each morning to get to the city. And the two roads are the low road and the high road. And the cost to traveling on these roads depends on the mass of agents that are traveling on the road. So, for example, if the if there is a mass 1/3 of agents traveling on the high road, then in this representation where L1 of x is equal to x, the cost for each agent of traveling will be 1/3. Independent of the number of agents traveling on the lower road, or the mass of agents traveling on the lower road, the cost is going to be 1. And agents have to decide how they're going to travel. And the way they're going to decide is you're going to look at a Nash equilibrium of this game. Even if you didn't know Nash equilibrium, we could talk through this rather nicely. It could be, for example, that a mass 2/3 was taking the high road and a mass 1/3 was taking the low road, and each agent has to then decide what they want to do, if that's the allocation that's being thought of. And in that case, the high road would cost 2/3, and the lower road's a constant. It just costs 1. So they would take the high road. And it's perfectly clear that in equilibrium, it can't be the case that 2/3 are taking the high road, 1/3 taking the low road, because somebody taking the low road would be paying 1, and people taking the high road would be paying 2/3. So you quickly see that the equilibrium is that everybody takes the high road. It's only when everybody's taking the high road and the cost of traveling on the high road is 1 that the cost is the same traveling on these roads, and people can't do anything better than do what they're doing in this situation. So that situation where everybody is doing the best given the actions of others is called a Nash flow. This example goes back to Pagoo. You know, this is ancient. This is old and really very nice. And the cost of the Nash flow is 1 because you have each agent paying this cost 1 to travel. There's a unit mass of them. And so the cost of the Nash flow is 1. Now, on the other hand, and here's where you would have the easy calculus problem, you could ask what flow would minimize the average cost of traveling. So, for example, you could put mass mu on the upper road, the high road. If you put a mass mu on the high road, then on that road, the cost that would be incurred would be the mass times the cost of traveling when that mass is traveling on the road. So it would be mu squared. And then the rest could take the low road, where the cost is 1 minus mu. So the cost would be mu squared plus 1 minus mu. And you can take that little quadratic, and you can solve for the mu, which minimizes this total cost, right? So if you do that, you get 2 mu is equal to 1, or 2 mu star is equal to 1, for mu star being the optimal choice. Mu star is equal to 1/2. And then if you look at the cost of half going up and half going down, half going up, the cost of traveling on the upper road will be 1/2, and a mass 1/2 is traveling on that upper road, so the cost will be 1/4. And then on the lower road, the cost will be, well, it's a mass 1/2 traveling, and they'll all pay 1 to travel. So the cost will be 3/4. And what you see, which is perhaps not at all surprising, is that in this problem where there's an externality and there's some coordination that's involved to get to an optimum, that if you look at the ratio of the Nash cost to the optimum cost, it's 1/3/4, which is equal to 4/3, and that's called the price of anarchy. That's what you pay for having individuals do what's best for them. People doing what's best for them don't, in this case, promote the social good. There's an externality. It's not surprising. In the optimum, some people are paying more than other people. The people who take the low road in the flow where half are going on the upper road and half are going on the lower road, the ones going on the upper road pay 1/2. The ones who are going on the lower road pay 1. So the optimum isn't stable. And quickly, what an economist with your kind of training would think of in this situation is you should have some sort of taxation here. You should perhaps, for example, say that people who are going to travel the upper road have to turn over 1/4 in monetary equivalents of the time that's that it takes, and they turn it over to the people who are paying less, who are the people who are traveling on the ones who are traveling on the low road should pay 1/4. The ones traveling on the high road should receive this 1/4.